All right, welcome to the Explainer. Today we're diving into something, well, it's not a big market trend or a corporate strategy. No, this is much more personal and honestly, a lot more intense. We're going to break down a really powerful case study of a family staring into a total financial abyss and the absolutely shocking advice they got.
Just listen to this quote. I'm already numb, just living day by day.
Wow.
That single sentence, it comes from a 47-year-old wife and mother. It's the last thing she wrote in a desperate letter asking for help, and, it just perfectly sets the scene for the absolute crisis we're about to get into.
So this all starts with a letter, a kind of financial SOS that the wife sent to an advisor. And in it, she lays out a situation that has just completely spiraled out of control. Let's take a look at who we're talking about here. What's the family's profile? Now, you have to understand, this wasn't an overnight thing. It's not like they suddenly became poor. No, this was a slow, painful slide. For about a decade, they were making great money, but they were also spending a lot. And now, they're trapped. They're literally borrowing money just to pay off the money they already owe. It's this gradual descent into a financial black hole, and it's all been sped up because the husband's business income, well, it just completely dried up.
Okay, let's get into the nitty-gritty. Because when you look at the numbers, they paint a truly bleak picture of what's going on month to month. And it really all starts with their single biggest asset, or what should be their biggest asset.
Yeah, you're seeing that right. Negative 2.5 million. They bought their house back in 2021 at the absolute tippy top of the market. And now, it's not an asset. It's a massive liability. It's immediately put them in a financial hole so deep, there's just no climbing out. And get this, every single month, 20 grand has to go out the door for the mortgage. It's a fixed, relentless payment that just keeps coming, whether they have income or not. And right now, they have basically no income. But wait, there's more. On top of that huge mortgage, they're shelling out another $7,000 every month for just one of their two cars. Think about that. 7 grand for an asset that's just losing value every single day. It's bleeding them dry. And here's where it gets really, really dangerous. They've entered what's basically the final phase of a debt crisis. They're borrowing from new loans to pay off their old loans. With no real income coming in, they're just digging the hole deeper and deeper. It's a classic death spiral.
So you might be thinking, okay, why don't they just stop the bleeding, sell the house, sell the car, cut their losses, right? Well, it's not that simple. And it all boils down to a really dangerous financial mindset, a core conflict in how they think they should handle this mess. And this slide just perfectly captures the gridlock they're in. The husband is completely trapped by something called the sunk cost fallacy. It's that voice in your head that says, but we've already paid so much. We can't give up now. He can't let go of the car. He's hoping his business will just magically turn around. The advisor, on the other hand, is being totally ruthless. He's saying, look, that money is gone. It doesn't matter. The only thing that matters right now is stopping the bleeding and getting cash in hand. So faced with this total crisis and, the husband's refusal to see reality, the advisor comes back with a plan, and it is radical. It's completely no nonsense. This isn't a gentle course correction, folks. This is, well, it's like emergency financial surgery. So the big question is, how do you escape a financial black hole this big? Well, the answer isn't about saving face. It's not about trying to get back what they lost. Nope. It's about pure, unadulterated damage control. So let's look at the 4 steps the advisor laid out as their only lifeline. Look at this plan. It's not about recovery, not yet. It's about amputation. You have to cut off the limbs to save the patient. Step 1, sell the house immediately, even at a huge loss. Step 2, sell that car and get rid of that massive payment. Step 3, stop borrowing money, period. The whole goal is to turn these terrible cash-draining assets into actual liquid cash. And if they can come out of this with about $1 million left, the advice is to stick it in a NASDAQ 100 index fund and start the long process of rebuilding from zero. But here's where it gets even more intense, because the most difficult and maybe the most important piece of advice, well, that was saved for the wife and the wife alone, in private. The message to her was brutally clear. He told her she had to create a financial lifeboat,
for herself and her kids, completely separate from her husband's sinking ship. He said, keep your $100,000 in savings a secret. Cash out your insurance policy for its $200,000 value. And whatever you do, do not let your husband know about this money. The idea was to create her own emergency fund and invest the rest because, as the advisor put it, her first duty is to herself and her children.
And then came the ultimatum. The advisor told her, straight up, if he refuses to listen, you may need to consider divorce or separation to see if it wakes him up. I mean, talk about a wake-up call. He's basically saying that this isn't just a money problem anymore. It's a fundamental issue that could end the marriage.
Okay, so that's a heavy, deeply personal story. But what can we learn from it? What are the universal lessons we can pull from this family's nightmare that might actually help us? Well, first off, that sunk cost fallacy we talked about, it is an emotional trap that absolutely destroys wealth. The husband refusing to sell the car because he'd paid so much already is a textbook example. You have to learn to let go of what's already gone to make a smart decision about the future. It's one of the hardest, but most crucial financial skills there is. Second, this idea of financial independence, even when you're married. It's not a luxury, it's a necessity. The advice for the wife to create her own secret lifeboat, that highlights a really critical point. Having your own protected assets isn't about distrusting your partner. It's about security. It can be the firewall that stops a shared crisis from turning into your own personal ruin. And finally, sometimes you just have to rip the Band-Aid off. In a real crisis, decisive, even painful action is so much better than just letting yourself slowly bleed out financially. That advisor's plan was brutal, right? Selling everything at a massive loss. But sitting around and hoping for things to get better, that hesitation, it can be fatal. Which leaves us with one final, really provocative question to think about. In a financial crisis like this, should you save yourself first or the relationship? The whole story forces you to weigh this incredibly difficult balance between loyalty and the basic need for self-preservation. And honestly, there's no easy answer to that one.